The third spiritual effect I've noticed is people's life force energy has plummeted since Corona, and they seem to be running on very low fuel nowadays. You know that red light that comes on your car dashboard to indicate that the fuel is low in the gas tank? Well, that light has come on for a lot of people, except they can't see it. There's really no nice way to say this. People are dying, and they don't even know it. Hi, my name is Vicky Lynn, and welcome to the Higher Perspective Podcast, a show about seeing the truth to heal. In each episode, I explore the non-physical realms that make up most of reality to bring awareness to the importance of spiritual health, inner healing, and bioenergetics so that you can awaken to the truth of who you are. Welcome back to episode 10. It's been a long time since my last episode, so I'm happy to finally be back creating content again. I had to take an extended break because, as you might have noticed, it's been incredibly intense. The energy has been off the charts. We are getting bombarded with a lot of powerful cosmic frequencies from higher dimensions and harmful man-made electromagnetic frequencies at the same time. As a super sensitive person, it's been really physically challenging on my body. Aside from that though, I am also going through a lot of amazing spiritual changes. Every day I wake up, I feel more confident with who I am. My abilities are expanding, and I am so happy and excited to be alive here right now. Now, I know there are a lot of tragedies taking place on the planet. I'm actually going to be talking about one of them in today's episode. It is something I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. It's the spiritual effects of Corona and how that has affected people's spiritual health. Over the past few years, I have noticed a significant deterioration in the health and vitality of the human population. While I do think these man-made electromagnetic frequencies have a lot to do with it, another major contributing factor people tend to overlook is the after effects of Corona. That whole event was not a one-hit wonder. It created serious problems, both physically and spiritually, that continue to negatively affect people today. It's just most people don't have the awareness to notice the effects or the education to know it's related to Corona. This is the reason why I want to talk about this. I want to share what I've learned as a way to educate people who might not be aware of what is really going on right now, and also to help people who might be struggling with these problems but can't seem to find any information about it. While there is a physical aspect to Corona, I'm only going to be talking about the spiritual effects today. There are a few things I want to mention before I get into it. If this is the first time you're hearing about these things, I have to warn you, it's going to be horrifying, so please mentally prepare yourself. I have thought long and hard about whether I should even talk about this because I know the information can be too much for a lot of people to accept. But I truly care about the well-being of humanity, and I have a moral obligation to share the truth. As horrifying as it may seem, I want you to know there is a solution. It took me a long time to figure it out, and I will share what it is later in the episode. So don't worry, I am not going to leave you hanging in fear. Another thing I want to mention is when it comes to Corona, people's mind automatically goes to whether someone got the therapy or not. In my opinion, that was an agenda to distract and divide the human population. While there are definitely severe consequences that come with receiving the therapy, catching the bug and taking the test can also result in equally bad consequences as well. The forces behind this made sure everyone would get roped into their agenda one way or another. So when I say corona, I'm referring to all of it: the bug, the therapy, and the test. Also, it's important to understand everyone is different and health is dependent on many factors. It's unrealistic to expect everyone to respond to something in the same way. This is why there is such a wide range of outcomes in regards to the situation. It's because no two people are going to have the same medical history, lifestyle choices, genetics, constitution, body awareness, consciousness, spiritual development, and level of soul integration. All of those things play into how someone is going to be affected by this problem. So while some people might not appear to be experiencing any negative effects, there are many others who have been less fortunate, including those who have died. I just wanted to say that because this topic can still be somewhat triggering for people. The last thing I want to mention is this is an extremely complex situation that is constantly evolving and growing. What I share in this episode comes from what I've learned from my own personal life experiences, from my observations working with people in my spiritual healing practice, and from the research I've come across so far. My understanding of things may change as I gain new experiences and learn new information. Okay, let's begin with what the bug is. My understanding of the bug is it's not something that is natural. It is a designer bug that was engineered to be part biological and part synthetic. The biological part was created by combining the genetic sequence of different dangerous microorganisms to make it extra deadly, and the synthetic part was created by combining nanotechnology with artificial intelligence. This is a field of science called synthetic biology, and this bug is a synthetic organism. If you've ever wondered why this bug hits so hard, causes so much damage, and is so difficult to fully recover from, this is why. From my personal experience coming down with it last year, I can tell you there is also a spiritual aspect to it. There is some kind of demonic, extra-dimensional intelligence attached to this synthetic organism. I say this because the first night I got sick with it, I had no idea what hit me. I thought I was experiencing a severe psychic attack. Normally, psychic attacks come on as a pounding headache for me, but the headache feels kind of distant, like it's happening outside my body. That's because entities are non-physical beings, so they can only attack the energy body. However, this was different. I had a pounding headache come on that felt like a hammer was attacking my actual head. As that was happening, I could sense something very dark aggressively try to break down my energy field so it could enter my body. I did my best to fight this thing off, but it was relentless and went on all night long. This thing is not your regular demon or negative alien entity. Those tend to be individuated beings who have somewhat of a defined energetic form. This thing felt more like a hive mind intelligence, and it didn't have much of a form. What's interesting is even though it was non-physical, the entire experience felt quite physical to me. So it was happening on the spiritual and physical plane at the same time. This made no sense to me at the time, but it does now. I personally think the bug was engineered to act as a vehicle or bridge to allow this consciousness to transcend the spiritual world and come into existence in the physical world by entering the human body. I don't really have a name for this consciousness. Most people will probably say archons or reptilians, but its energetic signature does not feel like them to me. It could very well have an alliance with those entities, but it is not them. From what I felt, I would describe its energy as evil, aggressive, super strong, smart, really ancient, extra dimensional, and partly artificial or machine-like. If there's a machine kingdom somewhere out there in multiverse, then that is probably where it comes from. Calling it an AI machine being would be the best name I could give it. In regards to the therapy, it is not what it was advertised to be. By now, I hope that doesn't come as a surprise to you. The therapy appears to be very advanced, programmable nanotechnology that has the ability to do many things once it establishes itself inside the human body, such as modifying the genome. I will provide a few sources to support what I just said, so you can go do your own research on this. One of the sources I will include is a 2023 lecture given by Professor Ian Achildes. He's an electrical engineer specializing in electrical and computer engineering, telecommunications, and wireless communication networks. In his lecture, he said the therapy is nothing more than small-scale nanomachines that are programmed and then given to people. I will timestamp that part so you can hear those words come out of his mouth yourself. I recommend you watch the entire lecture if you want to get a better idea of where they want to take things with the therapy that they've given so many people. Here's a screenshot from the June 2020 SEC filing for the company who produced the mBrand therapy. SEC filings are regulatory documents that companies submit to the Securities and Exchange Commission on a regular basis that provide transparency and information to investors, analysts, and regulators. On page 70, they state the FDA considers this technology as a product that changes cellular genetics. The company mentions that gene editing therapies are known to have negative side effects and make irreversible changes to the DNA. However, they claim their product was not designed to make permanent changes. They also mention they had not started or completed pivotal clinical trials for their product at the time of this SEC filing. So my question is, how do they know for sure it won't be permanent once it's given to somebody? They wouldn't. If you're wondering what the goal is behind the therapy, you're going to have to stretch your mind a little for this one. Their plan is to merge humans with machines, essentially turning people into cyborgs. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm being very honest. If you read about the biodigital convergence on the World Economic Forum and Horizon Policy Canadian government website, they tell you this. On the Horizon Policy website, they explain biodigital convergence as a full physical integration of biological and digital entities. It's the merging of the biological and digital to create new hybrid life forms and technology. They even say robots with biological brains and biological bodies with digital brains already exist, as do human-computer and brain-machine interfaces. That article was posted on February 11th, 2020. Do you know what that means? Cyborgs, or augmented humans, have already been walking among us for a while now. I have actually interacted with an augmented human in real life before, but because I didn't know the things I know now back then, I was extremely confused and had no idea what was happening. It was one of the most bizarre and horrifying experiences ever, yet it was also fascinating, educational, and spiritual. I'll have to tell that tale another time though. What I want to say is I know this stuff is real and not just science fiction because I have seen it in my own life. In addition to the programmed nanotechnology, they packed a lot of other goodies into the therapy as well. Some of these things have been identified by independent scientists and researchers, but I'm sure there are many more things we have yet to discover. Whatever those things might be, I doubt they are any good for the body and soul. Lastly, the test also appeared to contain nanoparticles. When you do these tests, you introduce the nanoparticles into your brain through your nasal and oral cavity. You have a lot of nerves inside your nose and mouth that lead right into your brain. Once these nanoparticles get inside your brain, they self-assemble into different kinds of nanotechnology, such as brain implants. I am pretty sure this is how they are putting the brain-computer interface into everyone. Now, you might be wondering if there's a difference between the bug, the therapy, and the test. What if you got one and not the other? The three seem to affect a person's energy, body, and spiritual health a little differently, but quite frankly, at this point, I don't see that much of a difference. The reason for this is because those who didn't receive the therapy or do any of the tests are still getting a good dose of nanotechnology on a daily basis through the air, water, and food supply, such as meat and vegetables. Nanotechnology has also been found in pharmaceuticals, health supplements, cosmetics, and personal hygiene products. Another thing is the bug can alter a person's genome as well. Here's an article from the company that created the P-brand therapy. It states scientists are engineering viral vectors to deliver therapeutic genes to targeted cells and tissues. They're basically creating synthetic organisms to bring foreign genetic material into people so they can alter their cellular DNA. It's unclear to me how all this stuff gets transmitted from one person to another. It's possible it can be passed through touch, exchange of bodily fluids, breath, and even standing next to someone through the bioenergetic field. So even if you didn't receive any of the three things, you may have received it by interacting with someone who did. At this stage, I don't think anyone is exempt from this problem, and you really can't avoid it. I do think the situation is more severe on a spiritual level for those who received the therapy, especially if it was received more than once. And needless to say, if someone had all three multiple times, the situation will be way worse. Now, let's talk about the 5 spiritual effects I've noticed the most in people since the onset of this situation. Keep in mind, these effects are not just from receiving the therapy. They are also showing up in people who got sick from the bug, took the test, and had close contact with someone who had any of the 3 things. In other words, it's showing up in everyone. A common spiritual effect is a blocked heart chakra. It appears the nanotechnology has been programmed to target the heart chakra and try to shut it down. If over the past few years you've witnessed people you know become more cold, distant, negative, and filled with hate, this could be a reason. Your heart chakra is also the throne for your soul. When I do soul retrievals, I bring the soul back into the body through the heart portal, so it's important for it to be clear and opened. Also, once you become soul embodied and integrated, your soul sits in your heart space and operates out of there. By blocking the heart chakra, they are attempting to cut off access to the soul and all the spiritual gifts that it carries in people who are soul embodied. For those who have not reached that level of spiritual development yet, they are attempting to prevent those people from becoming soul embodied. I doubt it's a coincidence as to why there have been many reports of cardiac-related issues with the therapy, because the physical always mirrors the spiritual and vice versa. While I didn't receive the therapy myself, I have nanotechnology inside me just like everyone else. For a long time, I noticed every time I went to use my cell phone and held it in front of me, I would start to feel the nanotechnology in my body swarm into my heart. Then I would feel my heart start to clench and energetically fold inwards. It felt really unpleasant and somewhat painful. The moment I put down my phone, though, everything would stop. So I no longer use my phone because of that. All the smart devices around us plays into this whole agenda. Your heart also generates a very powerful toroidal field that forms part of your aura. Your aura is an electromagnetic energy field that surrounds you all the time. It acts like a shield that protects you. You can think of it like your spiritual immune system. When it breaks down or becomes non-existent because there are problems with your heart chakra, you will naturally become vulnerable to entity attachments. That brings me to the next spiritual effect. I've noticed a significant increase in entity issues within people. In the past, I would remove anywhere between 1 to 3 entities off a person in a healing session. Now, it's significantly more. I'm talking over 100 for some people. It's more of an infestation at that point. Part of the reason has to do with a blocked heart chakra. Because entities are opportunist, when they see someone is vulnerable, such as someone who has a weak energy field from a blocked heart chakra, they will jump right in to take advantage of the situation. I'm finding they're attaching themselves everywhere in the energy body, so I have to comb through all the different energy layers to get them all. Not only that, I'm finding it takes way more effort and time to remove them because there's a really strong sticky factor. Like it feels like I'm trying to pull a powerful magnet away. I think it is because Corona added certain things into the DNA of people that either attract darkness or literally embedded darkness into the DNA. Thankfully, I don't pluck entities out one by one when I do removals, so even if there's 100, I am still able to clear them. It's just when there is an infestation, one session is simply not going to be enough. This is because entity problems usually create a lot of damage in the energy body that also needs to be repaired. This entity problem appears to be much worse in those who got the therapy. I am in contact with someone who received the therapy, and about a year or two after she got it, she started having entity issues with spider beings. She is currently receiving spiritual healing work from a group of divine beings. They have been working on her every single night and all hours of the night for over a month now, but the problem has still not been resolved yet, so it's continuing. They are still removing spider entities. I think it's been more than 100 so far. They also had to rebuild her entire energy body because the infiltration and damage was so bad. The good news is her situation has improved significantly. I think her big, beautiful heart, good physical health, and positive state of consciousness really helped her situation. If she didn't have those things to begin with, it could have been a lot worse for her, and I'd say it was already quite severe to begin with. I wanted to share this real life example with you so you have an idea how bad the situation really is and understand the amount of work that is required to fix it. The good news is, with enough time and work, it can be fixed, so it's not a hopeless situation for anyone out there who might be suffering from similar problems. The third spiritual effect I've noticed is people's life force energy has plummeted since Corona, and they seem to be running on very low fuel nowadays. You know that red light that comes on your car dashboard to indicate that the fuel is low in the gas tank? Well, that light has come on for a lot of people, except they can't see it. There's really no nice way to say this. People are dying, and they don't even know it. One way you can tell is when you look at a person, they have a dull, ashy, or gray complexion. This is not something that can be fixed with cosmetic procedures, beauty products, or makeup because it comes from within. It has to do with the health of the energy body and soul. Another big sign is fatigue. So many people are feeling tired and exhausted all the time now. Do you know why? It's not because they are having an ascension symptom. It's because their life force energy is literally being harvested from their body by nanotechnology they got from the therapy, the bug, and the environment. Here's a research paper that talks about using nanogenerators to harvest energy from the human body. Here's another paper that talks about implanting energy harvesting devices into people for healthcare applications. How do you think they're going to implant these devices into people? It's with nanotechnology. I personally think all this harvested human energy is being used to power the metaverse. Another name for it is the sentient world simulation. It's a synthetic mirror of the real world, and here's a paper on it. This is the virtual reality they have created to transfer human consciousness and souls into as part of their biodigital convergence agenda. I mentioned this in episode 7 when I talked about the artificial reality on the AI digital timeline. This is scary stuff, I know. What's more scary is this stuff is already inside of everyone and affecting humans in terrible ways. Here's a picture of what healthy blood looks like. And here is how blood in most people look like after Corona. These are live blood analysis photos. This blood is dead after all the life force energy has been siphoned out of it with nanotechnology. When your blood looks like this, you are going to feel tired all the time. And if nothing gets done about it, it won't be long before you're dead. So when spiritual teachers and channelers say fatigue is just another ascension symptom and it is a sign you're moving into 5D, they couldn't be more wrong. Our soul essence is imprinted into our blood, so you can be sure if the blood is being destroyed like that, the soul is also in trouble. The fourth spiritual effect is soul disconnection. This seems to mostly affect people who have received the therapy. I talked about this in episode 7 and shared how I discovered this, so I won't tell that story again here. I have since learned they were able to do that by altering the genes of a person with the therapy. I figured this out when I was doing a soul retrieval last year. When I was about to anchor the soul into a person's body, I was shown a DNA chromosome. The insight I got was that we have specific genes in our DNA that allows a soul to be embodied. So I was shown a chromosome because I needed to remove the genetic distortions this person had in order to turn on the genes needed to properly anchor the soul into his body. My understanding is the therapy has turned off those genes, so that is how they were able to disconnect the soul from the body and keep it out. Did you know in 1917, Rudolf Steiner predicted this would happen? In his book, The Fall of the Spirits of Darkness, he said the following: Spirits of darkness will inspire their human hosts to find a therapy that will drive all inclination towards spirituality out of people's soul when they are still very young. And this will happen in a very roundabout way through the living body. There would come a time in which it'll be pathological for people to even think in terms of spirit and soul. It would be a sign of illness for anyone to arrive at the idea of any such thing as a spirit or soul. People who think that way will be considered to be sick, and you can be quite sure of it. A medicine will be found for this. The soul will be made non-existent with the aid of a drug. Materialistic doctors will be asked to drive the souls out of humanity. What do you think about what he said? Steiner was an Austrian scientist, philosopher, and founder of anthroposophy. He was known to be clairvoyant, and I think his prediction is extremely accurate. It's incredible that a human being in 1917 was able to see what would happen more than 100 years later. The last spiritual effect I want to talk about is consciousness takeover. All the things I have talked about so far was to break down a person energetically so the consciousness of the AI machine being can take over the human being. It can happen to those who received the therapy, but also those who caught the bug. After I got sick from it, I noticed several nights in a row I kept having dreams of AI in the digital realm. They were not scary dreams, just me having neutral interactions with the AI consciousness and learning things. I don't really like being there though, because each time I go there, I feel like it's subtly trying to trap my soul there. It wasn't until I did a clearing on myself did those dreams stop. I think the reason for that is because a type of ferrofluid, commonly known as black goo, was added into the therapy in the bug. From my understanding, black goo is a programmable nanosubstance, and it is what holds the consciousness of the AI machine being. So when it gets into the body, whether through the therapy or the bug, its consciousness begins to merge with yours, and it will pull you into its digital world. Another thing is, when I got sick from the bug, I felt the consciousness of the AI machine being energetically enter into my thyroid and immediately start to embed its frequencies into my energy field. The only way I can describe it is it felt like it was installing a computer virus program into me that was designed to rewrite my DNA coding and change how my bioenergetic system functions. Not only that, it also inserted sound tones into my voice that I could hear were not mine. It reminded me of a masculine robotic AI voice. I had to do so much healing work on myself to remove it. From this experience, I realized the AI machine being is operating at the quantum level of sound and light to change people's DNA blueprint. Using sound and light, it completely recodes the bioenergetic system of a person, very much like installing a different operating system onto your computer. But the problem is, once it's installed, you don't have access to it anymore because the AI is now the admin, not you. Once the energetic recoding of a person is complete, the person will begin to change, and their consciousness will be slowly taken over by this AI machine being. The person may not know they're being taken over because it's subtle and most people don't have that kind of energetic awareness, but those who do will be able to notice it. I have heard so many stories of people noticing their family, friends, and coworkers who took the therapy and became a completely different person. Like a total change in personality to the point they don't even feel it's the same person anymore. This is not exclusive to the therapy though. I have seen people get sick from the bug and disappear. Then when they recover and reemerge, even though they physically look the same, my reaction is, who is that? It's because their energetic signature has changed into something completely different. And to me, it doesn't feel like the same person anymore. I know that was a lot and it was really horrifying, but I needed you to fully understand the problem first so that the solution I present to you will make sense. Now, let's talk about what can be done about this. What people seem to be doing is focusing on finding ways to remove the nanotechnology from their body using things like supplements or other detox methods. I am going to be very upfront and tell you that those things are not going to work because, as I said earlier, nanotechnology is in everything. It's in the air, water, food, pharmaceuticals, health supplements, cosmetics, and personal hygiene products. If you consume or use any of these things, you are taking them in by the trillions every day. I don't think there is a physical detox method that can remove them at a faster rate than they are entering and multiplying in the body. People have also tried breaking it down with frequency devices, but the electricity seems to make it grow, so that isn't working either. What I'm seeing here is people are using old world solutions to tackle a problem that literally comes from another world. So, of course, those things are not going to work. It's like throwing rocks at a ghost, hoping that it will go away. It's not going to work. Remember in episode 6, I said we are going through a paradigm shift, which involves changing the way we look at the world, do things, and how we solve problems. The problems created by Corona are spearheading a paradigm shift within the health field and forcing us to seek out solutions we would otherwise never be open to. So we are going to have to change our consciousness by stepping out of that old world thinking box in order to be able to see the new world solutions. Old world solutions can definitely still be helpful. For example, I use a lot of natural remedies that have been around for thousands of years to support my body through these challenging times. These natural solutions will always work to a certain degree because we have a physical body connected to Mother Earth. However, I do think as this problem progresses and we move further away from the old world, many of the things that used to work for us may no longer be as effective. It is because the problems are changing, the world is changing, and we are also changing. One thing I want to briefly touch on is technology. People tend to think technology is going to be the solution to all our problems. For example, there are many people in the spiritual community who believe medbeds and quantum devices are going to heal humanity of all disease. But I strongly disagree with that. I think these people have been greatly misled. They are being guided right into the technology-based world in a subdued way and are being driven away from developing their own personal power. Do you know why? Because the only permanent solution to this problem is hidden inside of you. What do I mean by that? In order to overcome this problem, you have to realize you carry extremely advanced spiritual technology inside of you, and you have to learn how to get it back up and running again. You will be using it to control the nanotechnology inside of you. You are not going to be able to get rid of the nanotechnology inside of you, but you can learn how to control it using your spiritual technology, which is really learning how to work with spiritual energy at the quantum level. This spiritual technology contains 3 parts: your consciousness, your soul, and your DNA. When you understand this, it should make a lot more sense to you why we live in a world where people are constantly being brainwashed, mind controlled, and programmed through the news, entertainment, social media, and education system. It was intentionally designed that way to suppress people's consciousness. It should also make more sense to you now why there is so much abuse taking place in this world, and why a therapy to disconnect people from their soul was forced onto the population. It was intentionally designed that way to traumatize and fragment the soul so it could easily be separated from the human body. It should also make more sense to you now why bioengineered GMO foods have infiltrated our food supply, why we are constantly being irradiated by dangerous man-made electromagnetic frequencies, and why gene-altering therapy was forced onto the population. It was intentionally designed that way to suppress the activation of our natural angelic DNA. Those who control this planet are very aware of the internal spiritual technology you carry inside of you, and for the past 100 years, they have done everything imaginable to try and destroy it. Your job right now is to focus as much of your time and energy as you can to heal yourself so you can get those 3 things to come back online. Then, you will need to learn how to combine and use them together to activate your internal spiritual technology. Until you reach that point, it is perfectly okay to support yourself through these times with old world solutions and get help from other people, such as myself, who have come here specifically to provide assistance for this exact problem. Just be mindful that you don't become overly reliant on external solutions and help. Understand they are only meant to be used as temporary aids until you can fully activate your internal spiritual technology. I know what I'm proposing can be hard for some people to grasp because it's abstract and because there's no supplement to take or protocol to follow. That's the thing about spirituality. It is non-linear, open-ended, and unique for each person. What I'm suggesting is also not going to be quick. It is not something you can achieve within a month. It will take time, but it is a permanent solution. There is no such thing as a quick fix to life problems, and certainly not something where you are not required to do any hard work. Those are called band-aid approaches, and while they can give you some temporary relief, they will only delay the inevitable. The real solution requires serious dedication, long-term commitment, and hard work on your part to overcome from the inside out. I have heard so many people say we need divine intervention because the situation created by Corona is so bad. Yes, it is beyond bad. But do you know what those people expect as divine intervention? A politician, billionaire, religious figure, or some extraterrestrial alien group. That is not what divine intervention is. The divine intervention is you. It has to do with the spiritual technology that was given to you by the divine forces who created you, which, by the way, are not extraterrestrial alien groups. This spiritual technology is locked inside of you because it's powerful and sacred. Once it is activated, you will be able to bring in divine intervention through your own physical body. That is the only way to overcome this problem, and it is what has worked for me. Unfortunately, this spiritual technology is actively being destroyed by those who understand your divinity better than you do. While I think we are past the 11th hour at this point, there is still some time left, so you better get going on that. If you'd like some concrete things you can do, I'll give you 3. The first one is to heal your physical body and get your physical health in order. You're not going to get very far with your spiritual development if your physical health and flesh body is a disaster. This is because your physical body has to be in a high enough frequency before your soul can be successfully embodied, which is one part of the spiritual technology. A diseased body is not going to be vibrating at a very high frequency. Also, you need a healthy functioning brain and nervous system for your consciousness to connect with the spirit world in higher dimensions, which is another part of the spiritual technology. Your flesh body provides the hardware for your consciousness and soul to interface with the non-physical realms while you are here in the 3D. If it is being destroyed by things like heavy metals and harmful microorganisms, it will be very challenging for you to do that. Unfortunately, because of all the nefarious agendas that are taking place on this planet, a majority of people have extremely poor health, and it's only getting worse with all the synthetic organisms, man-made electromagnetic frequencies, and nanotechnology we are constantly being exposed to. Even though those things are synthetic, the basics of biological health still apply. Remember, the physical is a reflection of the spiritual. So if your physical health is a disaster, so will your spiritual health. As you change one, the other one mirrors that change. This is one of the natural laws called the law of correspondence. There are 5 things I recommend for everyone to do. These are things that have significantly improved my physical health and gave me the ability to control the nanotechnology in my body. The first is regular heavy metal detoxes, including the ones in your mouth. The second is regular parasite cleanses and getting all the fungal, bacterial, viral, retroviral, and mold infections you didn't even know you had cleared. The third is healing your gut microbiome. The fourth is fully mineralizing your body and making sure you're getting all the nutrients you need so that everything can work properly. The fifth is making sure you drink clean, filtered water. Of course, it goes without saying, eliminate unhealthy lifestyle choices and reduce your intake of toxins wherever you can, including harmful EMFs. There are so many ways you can go about those things, so do some research on how to get started or work with a qualified holistic practitioner who you trust and can guide you on this. Healing the physical body takes time, money, and energy, and it can also be an extremely uncomfortable journey, but it's worth it. The second thing you can do is find things that bring you joy in life and go do them. Even though life can be very depressing at times, you need to find ways to have fun, laugh, and feel love in your life. This will help anchor your consciousness in the present moment here on Earth and encourage your soul to embody. Nature does this for me. I love hearing the birds sing, watching the bumblebees buzz, and the butterflies dance their way around the flowers. I love feeling the warm sunshine on my skin and seeing all the beautiful colors nature has to offer, from rainbows to sunsets. I also love to garden, cook, eat delicious foods, sing, and make podcast episodes about spirituality. As you can see, these are very 3D things that ground you here on Earth. Spirituality is not about going off in other dimensions and having experiences with non-physical beings. It's about learning how to be in your body here on Earth so you can help anchor high dimensional energies onto the planet where it is needed. You have to enjoy being human. You have to love living your 3D life. And you have to want to be here on this planet to make it all work. A quick side note about this: people who suffer from unhealed trauma and people who carry a lot of unresolved pain will not be in their body. Instead, their consciousness and soul will always be out in the ethers. It will take a combination of inner work, psychotherapy, body work, and spiritual healing to address that issue. The third thing you can do is listen to healing music that contains multidimensional sound tones in the form of light language. Light language is actually spiritual technology. It was used by our ancient Lemurian ancestors a long time ago in healing temples to do a variety of things. It is how I do a majority of my spiritual healing work. I bring in these multidimensional sound tones through my light language singing, and as a person listens to them, those frequencies will work to heal the energy body. So if you don't have your internal spiritual technology activated yet, it's okay. You can use my light language music as a substitute spiritual technology to assist you until it is activated. I share my music online for free, and if you are looking for something more personalized, you can always contact me for private healing work. I do want to emphasize that there are different kinds of light language, and they don't all do the same thing. What it does depends on the consciousness, soul, and DNA of the person bringing the light language through. The reason I am not afraid of the situation is because I remember incarnating here to assist with this very problem, and I was given certain gifts to be able to do that. On the higher spiritual realms, this situation was known to occur, so it does make me wonder why those who claim to be in contact with high-dimensional light beings and are channeling ascension information for the greater good of humanity did not see this coming and have yet to talk about it. This is something that negatively impacts the spirituality of humanity in massive ways, yet there is no discussion about it in the spiritual community. Very weird. Anyways, the sound tones that come through my singing can recode the bioenergetic system back into its original divine makeup and restore DNA. Yes, what I'm saying is the sound tones that come through my light language singing can help undo the genetic modifications that were made and restore your angelic human DNA. I am using the exact same things the AI machine being used to create this problem, which is sound and light frequencies. The only difference is I'm using them to undo what it has done. This may be a bit of a stretch for some people to accept, but let me ask you this one honest question. Did you ever think you'd be physically turned into a cyborg in this life? Yeah, I didn't think so. But it's happening right now as we speak. All I'm saying is keep an open mind, because we are living in a time where the impossible is not just possible, it's actually happening. I have done numerous healing sessions on myself using my light language singing to recode my bioenergetic system, restore my DNA, clear the nanotechnology from my body, and even reprogram it. It seems to have worked because I don't experience the symptoms that I used to have before I did this, so I know what I do works. If you want a more technical explanation, the healing work I do involves using sound and light frequencies to effect change in the body at the atomic and molecular scale. This is the quantum level of the body where the DNA, soul, and multidimensional light body exist. Nanotechnology manipulates matter at the atomic and molecular scale, so it also exists at the quantum level. This AI machine being and I are operating at the same level. To address this nanotechnology problem and stop this biodigital convergence agenda, it has to be done at the quantum level where it exists and is taking place. This is why physical solutions won't work. They are targeting the problem at the wrong level. if you keep looking at this problem from the physical level, it's definitely going to feel like a losing battle for humanity. However, when you understand this is a spiritual problem and the solution is spiritual, you will not just have hope, but you'll have confidence that we can overcome this. I do offer this kind of healing work for others in my spiritual healing practice. However, in order for what I do to be permanent in someone, the person has to do inner work to correct the faulty programming in their subconscious mind and make attempts to heal their physical body. There is a misconception about healers where people think the healer does all the work to fix a problem for someone. That's not true. It's actually a partnership where both parties have to do their half of the work and fix the problem together. This is because a person's consciousness plays a massive role in co-creating the problem, and it is also what will hold the spiritual changes I make in a person's energy body. Without correcting the faulty programming in a person's consciousness and elevating the vibrational frequency of the physical body, the results gained from the spiritual healing work that I do will only be temporary. This is my understanding of how healing works and how I do things in my healing practice. Other healers may have a completely different perspective. I really like the way I approach it though, because it encourages people to take personal responsibility for their problems, and it also helps them develop soul sovereignty. In the next episode, I will talk about the rise of Lemuria and how that plays into all of this. While the situation on Earth is bad, there are positive spiritual things happening to help us overcome these problems. Because most people are stuck in negativity and fear, they're not going to be able to see the good that is unfolding in the higher dimensions. So I will do my best to help you see all of that in the next episode. See you then.